everyone! So, welcome to the finale. Well, not the finale. Oh my god, we only just started Thursday. We can't already be finished. But the finale of Turnabout Trump. Not the whole game. Just the first episode. Yeah, I'm going to be playing until the... I'm going to be playing until I finish Turnabout Trump. But I also have to keep in mind, tomorrow, I may regret this, but I did work on working up. I do need to get to bed at a reasonable time tonight because you know how earlier today I was doing Gartic with I was playing Gartic Phone with Azza and his community. That was really fun. Absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be a modded Among Us. It's going to be some modded Among Us, and I'm probably actually going to stream it myself because I think that would be really fun. Not gonna lie, I don't know if we're gonna be doing like Crew Link or anything. I'll have to look more into what we're doing tomorrow, but it will be definitely fun, and I will definitely be trying to streaming it myself. So, and that VOD will absolutely go on YouTube, just like tonight will. So, so that's what you guys have to look forward to tomorrow. But it is a little early for me. That lobby starts at 10 a.m. You gotta keep in mind, Azza is British, so. But like I said, that's why I have to get to bed at a reasonable time because I'm streaming in tomorrow. So, and if you're gonna ask, is Among Us gonna become a regular thing for you, Nitro? No. Absolutely not. I only bought it so that I could play with Azza's community, actually. And plus it was like $3, so it doesn't really matter too much for me. So, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So anyways, I think at this point we should just, get to the ridiculousness of this because Phoenix is involved. Of course it's ridiculous. Your Honor wasn't lying when he said that. But don't worry, I'm fine. Alright, let's get to the game. Yes. April 20th, 12:14 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga Orley, recovered? Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness. Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again. That is the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued. You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. As always, as he should be. It's Mr. Payne. I actually don't remember much about him. And that's the point! Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds to refuse to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orley take the stand. Very well. The witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you are a poor liar and a poor loser. Not. Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quickfingers Orley. Oh, really? Things got interesting! And it's only been 10 minutes. Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian. My last name sounds like, oh, really? There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied. Witness, You will tell the court what you really were up to that night. Fine, I will talk. We had a plan, see? Let me remind you that you are currently under oath, and further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the crime, as a waitress. So you were in the cahoots with the victim. Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles, but winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. I would like to testify that Phoenix Wright has been defeated in Justice for All in Farewell My Turnabout. Okay, maybe they're talking about poker. But he is not undefeated! The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we were up for a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and trap would be shut. You swapped the cards. Exposed as a cheater and a loser and losing on top of it, it would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubts on his prior wins. A 7-year legend, destroyed by one little card. Is everybody here forgetting that before he became this poker player, that he was an ace defense attorney? Winning 11 different cases. I'm sorry, I forgot that 2 of those cases were Mia's. An ace attorney winning 11 different cases. Oh my gosh. Like I said, 2 cases for Mia's, and then again, he technically loses the Farewell My Turnabout. That was the plan. What do you mean, the? Oh, really, Orly? How droll. But it appears that you made quite the mistake. A mistake? I agree that the trap was elegant. Yet, what happened to that planted card? Hey, that's right. He's lucky. I'll give him that. He's a man with a lot of plot armor. What did you expect? Man survives running across a burning bridge, only getting a little bit of gold that takes him out for like a day. This is the man we are talking about with some serious plot armor. He has to be slip free from a trip paid by Uncle Finger Lady's Orly. Oh really? Oh really? A witness would be much cuter if she was dispensed with evil mastermind in his trick. Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad. You could be cute bad. You know, you could be like Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh, wait, shit. We should not talk about Dahlia. Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the lost hand just like he was supposed to. And Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith. It was the no-good cheating defendant. Well, by your logic, he didn't cheat. And it's not like he would, like, go forging evidence or anything. No, that was That was one time with the chief prosecutor Miles Edgeworth. Should I even wait? Since Edgeworth doesn't come back in these games until Dual Destiny, which is the next game, do we refer to Edgeworth by his name? I mean, I feel like I already had, so I guess that's fine. The trap was perfect, I tell you. Perfect. That rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Look who's talking. Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice. With witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? Apollo, are you forgetting that your client once was a defense attorney? Tonight, this planted card. Which was it exactly? The trump card. The five of hearts. Let me guess. Mr. Wright was. Let me guess. Mr. Wright had switched the 5 with an ace to make it a full house. At least that's what you were going to accuse him of doing, thereby ruining his ledger. I slipped it into Wright's pocket. When was this? Oh, why? Before the match, of course. While he was eating. At Bush Bulletin Club, we serve Bush and suckers. But he also works there as a pianist. And that's me putting air quotes around pianist. Remind me never to go there. And me too, Your Honor. Of course, the card was make its grand debut during the game. Like a good Bosch, a good plot must be cooked up early and allowed to thicken. So everything went according to the plan? Exactly. The 5th ace came up, so it's obvious the switch went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Wright would be forever known as a cheater and a fraud. There was worse things to be known as, I suppose. Tell us what happened with the search. But the planted card was gone, the trap failed. Then the card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, Zippo. We searched every nook and cranny. And even inside this cute little hat. It is actually a really cute hat, not gonna lie. I kinda wanna make that hat for myself. You know? Because obviously we can't just go and buy it unless we're looking into like cosplay stuff. But I feel like even then you can't even really find something like that, and you'd have to probably make it yourself. So yeah, noted that thing on my list. But the card was nowhere to be found. Is this correct? Never in my long story career, never has quick fingers or really been so readily duped. Oh really? So what happened next? What happened to that 5 of hearts? Don't look at me. Why don't you ask the cheating, lying, two-faced defendant? Okay. Does she even know his past about being a defense attorney? So the 5 of hearts is still missing in action. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright so thoroughly and found nothing, which means he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well, what was that just now? I sensed something. Mr. Gavin! Something wrong, Mr. Justice? No, nothing, Your Honor. What do I do? Should I press her a little harder? Oh, yeah, fucking hell yeah. Miss Orley, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? You. Me? Quick fingers or hide something? The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it right when Wright hit him. own eyes. I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? That witness, for instance, Miss Orley. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Touching her neck was... Whoa! What's going on? The sensation. Coming into focus. There! That twitch! It's so clear! It's like I could perceive her habit like I couldn't before. Gotcha. Oh, so... Miss Orley, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? But indeed, Justice, I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of her testimony, she unconsciously is recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory, and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. A memory? What? Would someone care to explain what he's blabbing about? This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us. Her habit is scratching her neck when she talks about the moment of the crime. Maybe she was the one who was hit. Perhaps. Let me look at the court records. Mr. Wright's prints are on it upside down. Photos to the forehead had removed during investigation. Used by the defendant to notify the police from the first floor restaurant. Did she take the locket? Maybe. I'm just trying to, when I look at things. So what would remind her of the moment of the crime? Most of the moment of the crime. Miss Orley. Oh, really? When you recall that crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that it was... Yeah, it has to be the bottle. Maybe she was... It must be my theory that she was hit by... Instead of the victim being hit by the bottle, maybe Phoenix did, but it hit her instead. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck, and what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle, the murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain? Well, what's he talking about now? I think I was onto something. That she got hit by the bottle. It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit, not you. This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits, they're completely irrelevant. Justice. I admit, I'm a bit confused myself. This certainly is a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Just trust me. Now's our only chance to break her. Miss O'Reilly, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment. I am only knowing nothing. We know you're not Russian. I love how I even went to her, the Russian voice I gave her. The witness will testify. Please, now. Bah! Fine. He's the only one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sights until the cops got there. You seem uneasy. You try standing up to here. I don't know. The defense attorneys do tend to get bullied. Her eyes are darting all over the place. I must be getting warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like? Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at the table until the cops came. Intriguing. I believe you got in all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness. So what do you think about her testimony? I'll tell you what I think. Her testimony is flawed. It's basically bogus. It contradicts the evidence. What's that? Well, show us this evidence, Mr. Justice. This evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony. She didn't let him out of her sight until the cops got there. I know there's some evidence that contradicts that. Well, it's easy. It's his phone. Mr. O'Reilly, we have record here that clearly contradicts what you said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. Yeah? And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made the phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. Ah! So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. The man who picked up the bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Mr. Smith must have hit her. She got hit, definitely. That's why she touches her neck when she recalls the moment of the crime, right? Because it wasn't her who got hit. It wasn't Mr. Smith who got hit by that bottle. You dirty cheat! And check his pockets now. It's gone. The card's gone. You lose. Ah! Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from the next to right, and he hit me. You some master of cheat you turned out to be. When I came to, the victim was already dead. Is that it? That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in the league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. I don't believe she did it, though. Because whoever is the murderer is whoever swapped the card. Not because, obviously, it was, oh shit, what card was it? Whoever swapped this king of diamonds in his hand for, that's the murderer. And it obviously isn't Miss O'Reilly. Well, where does this leave us? Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming! It must have been me who was hit by a bottle. I'm imagining all of this. It appears that our prosecution is at his wit's end, and I frankly cannot blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin, sir? I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss O'Reilly a big fat liar. What? 3 were in the room at the night of the murder. The defendant, the victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled. The witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the amount of that argument was murder. What? I'm no killer! It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. I believe her in that moment. What a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Right? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right. Like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped didn't know the two colors of cards were being used. A fourth person. Ha! This theory again. Your fourth person doesn't exist! But then where does the truth leave us? Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and a chance for deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less. What? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Remember what I said. The fourth person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the colors on the back of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. That means it can't be Miss O'Reilly, because if she really did swap the cards, she knew. Yes, there is only one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Mr. Gavin? Yeah, I had the impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was? Nope. Please, he's standing right next to me. He's standing right next to me. It's not me, I swear. Who is this fourth person? I just realized. Remember at the beginning of the court what Gavin said when the judge asked, I was under the impression that you were head of this case. But then Gavin said, I do as my clients requested, and my client specifically requested Apollo. Now, I don't know why Apollo accepted Julie, but there's no way in hell he would let Gavin defend himself. But we don't know who else would be working under Gavin, too. Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Because you're the protagonist of an Ace Attorney game, Apollo. That's why. Let's hear who the defense has to say. Or who was it? Who thought the cards were in the final game were blue? I don't want to do this! Cut! As I expected. Come on, Phoenix. The man's standing right next to me. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right? I mean, yeah, I remember at the beginning, in this poetic thing, Gavin said something about blue, the back of the cards being blue. Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue and which on the floor is the ones on the floor and the ones on the table. But look, you can see the color in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. It's true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet, it was only that, a game, a purist sense, a competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wit, a silence clash of passion. Only the cards, their backs, the reason blue flames know the final outcome. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? No, nothing. Excuse me. It was just so sudden. Right? You aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, this is the part. I'm gonna guess the Phoenix is not on the next line. Oh, it's not me accusing you. It's your part. It's like, it's not me accusing you. And hello, Beth. I'm doing good. Today's going great. Oh, Christoph. You know, even I would never take a joke this far. This game is gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. It's insane. This is insanity. Well, this is a case where we're dealing with Phoenix Wright, the man, the myth, the legend himself, who has been out of the lawyering game for 7 years now. The defendant is accusing his own defense attorney of murder? I assure you, I am quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim had never even met. Well, what if they have? Huh? There's a possibility, after all. They may have met that night, before the game started. What are you suggesting? Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Objection! Well, no, there is no objection. Let's see where this goes. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin? Testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before the game of poker be related? And you're considered the best attorney in the city. My mentor. That smiling face. I knew something evil was hidden behind that. It looks so smug. Like he's done something. I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. I'm in agreement with you, Your Honor. I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Aurelia. Am I to assume that you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Are you forgetting, Mr. Christoph, that Mr. Wright specifically asked for me? Apollo Justice. Mr. Justice, the matter of Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Hear the testimony! This was Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along, and I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. It too is justice. You would betray me, your teacher. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't loyalty. This is about the truth. Very well, then. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Katie Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from the cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Bowl Club that night of the murder? I dined with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will. I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, right? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I wanted is the truth, as I did back then. And now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took you on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice. Sir? Yeah, I knew I knew things were gonna get weird when I started to accuse the man standing right next to me! He's lying, and you're gonna expose him. I'm going to, not do that. I'm going to expose the truth. And if you're actually telling the truth here, which I don't think you are, because I would rather believe my client than anybody else right now. Understood, sir. Not really. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Versus Right. This can't end well. I agree with you completely there, Apollo. It's like, this is not gonna end well. Poor Apollo, this is his first trial ever. And he's basically now his client versus his teacher. Mr. Bacon should probably just go take a nap and everything would be fine. Mr. Payne's not needed anymore. Okay? The prosecution doesn't need anything. It's literally the defensive team against themselves. Why can't I have a normal trial? Because you're the protagonist of an Ace Attorney game, Apollo! You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yes, he dines with me at Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying our usual dinner at our usual spot. As usual. I always eat at the table closest to the piano. I see. So that you could play the piano. I see, where Mr. Smith was eating. So, the plates and such were on the table were from your dinner? Indeed. The remnants of my meal was Kristoff. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that, 5 minutes. So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure. Oh, Mr. Wright, what is it you say? Kristoff Gavin and Shady Smith may have met. Like I said, Mr. Payne, actually, you could just, not come off, because right now it's the defendant versus his defense team. I believe I did say that. Yes, I was all nervous about this meeting. And now we hear that they just passed in the hall? That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be, if that was all that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. What are you hiding this time? When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. About this failed trap. Is it the same trap that Miss Olga O'Reilly mentioned? The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. It was to plant a card in Wright's pockets beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands they were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. Then he would pull out the planted card and the trap which snapped shut. He swapped the cards. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Yes, a harmless prank, in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted? Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice that I'd been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. I guess they didn't realize that the man they were trying to deceive was once an ace attorney. That. I'm gonna look at this again. I can't. Where's the card? I mean, yeah, I know Phoenix. But then, okay, so I'm gonna assume at this point that the bottle isn't made out of glass and it's probably like some sort of plastic that wouldn't break. Because obviously, yes, now that it is truthfully revealed that somebody was actually hit with the bottle. Why why is Phoenix's fingerprints upside down? That sounds like a terrific drama. A card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the poker head of Mr. Poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please provide your testimony with this new information. I discovered the trap in the garden, disposed of the card in the bottle. Why in the bottle? I perceived my opponent's intentions immediately. I'm used to enchantment, you see. I knew what was coming. Oh, so you were struck first. I like that. I know every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pocket, they don't. The girl was knocked cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. So I left. We called the police. You made the call to the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get signals down in the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at the time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night after all. So there was in the darkened restaurant. I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. When I returned, he was dead, the blood streaming from the cut of his forehead. Guys! Guys! The bottles! There must be another bottle! Because we would notice, I think we would see a card in this. We would see a card in this. And so would the police. Because obviously, I think a normal detective, then again, we're an ace attorney, so there may not be a normal detective, would probably open to see like there's a card in there. So when and okay, so and this is there must be another bottle. The bottle, not only were the cards swapped, but also the cards must have been bottles must have been swapped. I'm so smart. And when you returned, the victim was already dead. Yes. I will admit, I was a little startled when I walked in. A little. He was bleeding from his forehead, after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked into a scene like that. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? I obviously got involved in a rather sticky affair. And I figured Kristoff's law office would give me a friend's rate for my defense fees. Ah, glad to hear you intend to pay. Oh, I'll pay in full, Kristoff. It was I who got you involved after all. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. But I'm his defense attorney. I mean, yeah, I'm glad I'm gonna get paid well, but I'm his defense attorney, not you, Gavin. Is this the truth that Mr. Rice was talking about? Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Yes, sir. I have to think. What is Mr. Wright trying to tell me with his testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. I also feel like Phoenix knows the bottles were swapped. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? I examined this bottle, and I don't see any card in here. No? What, Mr. Wright? Surely, isn't all you have to say for yourself? I can't say that I know what happened to that card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Here's the thing. Like I said. And that's why Phoenix's fingerprints would be upside down. Perhaps the fifth person came to take it out. Oh, perhaps the sixth person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. I wouldn't have you disarranging in our investigation either. You looked inside that bottle. There was nothing. So what's going on? Apollo, I think you know the answer to that question. It's easy. The bottles were swapped. A bottle was swapped. Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Nah, he wouldn't. Nah. Why did the card just disappear? Apollo, the bottles were swapped, obviously. In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh, push him harder, Justice. Break. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for KO. Unfortunately, Mr. Gavin, I think I'm gonna be teaming up with the witness and bringing the Ugh. Why do I have to get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Well, Polo, you still can choose. Because remember, Gavin's just your mentor, and he's just here to help you. But Mr. Wright is your client. Guess we're just gonna have to. Let's just try pressing it again. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yes, as he is. There must be something else. Hold on. Can't really see that. Can't see in that photo either. Single blow to the forehead. Oh, let's just press it a little further. Line the bottle. Am I sure there's nothing I can, investigate? Oh, there. Hmm. This is kind of tough. Not gonna lie. Pointing out multiple contradictions. That is. Gives dead clean blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Now, the opposite report says a single blow to the forehead. Does do I have to? I should. I feel like I have to present one of these, either the opposite report or crime photo 2 on this statement here, because Phoenix is obviously, because these don't add up. I think I'm gonna do crime photo 2. That seems more right. All right, no. I'm sorry, but I can't. Their appearance is dead when Girl was not cold and bottle. So I must have. This should be decisive evidence that I have. Yeah, there's definitely multiple bottles here, so. Hmm. Wait a second. Hold on. I got the wrong crime photo! Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph on the crime scene. He's a victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Eh? You put the hat on the dead man's head? He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police, when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view, shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked up his head off the floor, put it on his head. Why'd you do a thing like that? All I can say is, I'm sorry. Former Ace Defense Attorney Phoenix Wright, everybody. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss Orley didn't see it? It being the victim's, his head? I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one I was the only one who witnessed his head. Here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Or maybe somebody on the defense team is. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? That's something you should say out loud, Apollo. I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty, riddled with lies. This is Mr. Phoenix Wright, a former legendary defense attorney. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. What? Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Krista. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card into the bottle to dispose of it. When I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? The reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night. Recall what I spoke with the defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the courts. Krista, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you. He turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless blown china plate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Bone china plate. A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. Not a plate, but paste. I believe he was referring to the certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's directions in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Most certainly. Then, how did he know? When did he see the bone china plate? Oh, that's right. Yes. That's when I began to see my good friend in a different light. And that's... Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come unbiased to the privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It comes down to this, hasn't it, Phoenix Wright? Order! I will have order, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, Mr. Payne, you're basically kind of like... I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony? Yeah? Well, as the prosecutor, Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes. After which, Mr. Gavin will take stand for a cross-examination. Are we clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for the day. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chambers. Who would have thought today would have turned out like this? May I? Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please pick a card. What's all this about? This one. Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all. An ace. Where do I remember that card? It had blood on it. Mr. Smith had hands had 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. It's 5 aces in all. It's true! I've seen it! The 5th ace! It was cheating, I swear to you! The missing 5th ace. Wait. The splotch of red. Is it blood? You have your trump card. It's up to you to cut the deck and draw. Truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. This bloodstained card. Is my trump card for finding the truth? I bet you $5 there's only 2 cards. And then the other was like the 5 cards that was missing. I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl. I seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. She also said, "My father's fate is in your hands." Apollo. Pick up what people say, not just their actions, too. Okay? You can't just say... April 20th, 2:45 p.m. District Court, courtroom number 2. Wow, this has been a long trial. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Well, the witness state his name and occupation. This is far necessary, Your Honor. I believe far stranger things have gone in this courtroom. Yeah, you can tell, yeah, because of my client. Fine, I'll play along. First, there is one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? By secret, I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Fay... Oh, by the way, I've been meaning to examine the Bloody A's a little more. A single drop of blood marks the front of the card. And it's the right card. Yeah. Yeah, it's our ace of spades. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your honor seems just have a rather ornate interest in it. Phoenix? I wouldn't call it ordinate, Mr. Gavin. Oh my gosh, this is Objection 2001! I never thought we'd hear this song in this game! I mean, to be fair, it is Phoenix's original objection, so... But Phoenix has, by this point, Phoenix has 3 objections they could have chosen. But I guess this is the most iconic one, so... Also, I feel like his objection changed a bit. But then again, it has been 7 years. Mr. Wright? What do you think you're doing right? Wow, things sure do look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, and never once taking it off, except for that one time. That one time being the incident he was hit. Oh, when Mr. Wright returned from the reporting of the crime, the hat was lying on the floor, and Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to see Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin, I'm afraid that I have been entirely honest with this. That I haven't been entirely honest with this skirt. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Well, if you hadn't murdered anybody, you would have protected your client, Mr. Wright. And also, he's not your client, he's my client. I'm the defense attorney here. You're just my mentor. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation, I see little reason to hide anything. Very well. Allow me to tell the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of the fateful night? I played the Phoenix Wright trilogy. I tend to believe the man who is now standing right next to me. I finally believe the man standing next to me. It's all good. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead. He appeared as he appears in the photo. A bald head and an unconscious girl, and Wright holding the bottle in his hand. I sensed that it was not the best place. Place for me to be at the time, so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For the better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you're on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So you are Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify just as you did. You had to tell them what you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? Yes, you had to say that. Because that was the only probable window of opportunity, right, Apollo? Oh! Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? To cross-examine my own teacher? Not really, Your Honor, but let's give it a go! Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. He's considered the best attorney in the city right now. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. And this is my first trial! Let's remind everybody right now that this is Apollo Justice's first ever trial. Okay, let's see who gets. Okay, so I think out of all of them, we can definitely cross out Phoenix for having the weirdest first trial. So between Renosuke and Apollo, who had the weirder first trial? I think Apollo takes the cake because having to accuse your own goddamn teacher of murder is weirder than having to defend yourself so that your friend can go to not Japan, no, to London. So I think Apollo has the cake for weirdest first trial. I was what was the weirdest thing that happened in Phoenix's trial? Is that, oh no, the witness turned out to be the murderer. Whoa! It's not like that happens in every single goddamn Ace Attorney case. That man, you mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that. So then you knew the true nature of your client's job? Of course, but I also knew that he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that he'd know. They were friends, after all. Worried for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I feared Mr. Smith might be someone coming to settle an old score. I see. What happened then? I went down to the basement and peeked through the little window to the hideout. The little window. You mean the one used to keep watch to the stairs? Yes, a relic of ancient plaque. The black marketers used it, I believe. Why did you go through all the trouble of peeking through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier just to open the door and go into the room? I did not want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Yes. What if my fears had been unfounded? I'd be walking into their match. Bad form, to say the least. So far, everything he's saying makes sense. It must have been right after the murder took place. How do you know it was right after the murder? Really, no need to shout, Justice. Irk. I was just getting to that part of my testimony. Ah, there he is. The coldest defense attorney in the West. No one love. I've never heard of him before in my life. Even when you're standing up on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Oh, wait! Oh, Apollo! Wait until you meet Miles Edgeworth! Wait until you meet Edgeworth! The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene. Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his hat when he was dead. And then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat. Can you describe the scene of the crime for us? A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. Were those the only three scenes of the crime? At the scene crime? Yes, that's as far as I saw, at least. Then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Miss Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend me. Even after seeing what I've seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime, Justice. As I just said, I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Ah, yes, than the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me propose a question, then. Tell me, what possible reason does the real killer have to swap the victim's cards in the hands? Fuck, he's got us there. Fuck! Shit! Perhaps you could show us the reason why such a thing would be necessary. How can I show something when I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo. The card was swapped out with the fifth ace. Fifth ace. Right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer swapped out the card has been raised. Can you point out to a reason? My trump card! It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why the card was swapped out. I'm gonna show my trump card. Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the fifth ace? My reason is, this! Isn't that an ace? An ace of spades, no less. Why? Why, it's got blood on it! Right next to the spade. What? This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be the missing fifth ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is. I picked it up at the Bush Bolo Club that night after the murder occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock and trade after all. No! Impossible! Unacceptable! This court can't accept this as evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would like to think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime? Where are you going? Take another look at the photo and the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down his back. Couldn't a drop of blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood. Regardless, the evidence is not permissible. Oh, right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I answered your question. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I've told you. That one drop of blood could be decisive evidence. This is baseless conjuncture. Baseless! No, I assure you it's quite base. What? It's amazing, really. How could a single drop of blood on a card that can lead us to the truth? It's quite simple. Well, Apollo, yes? Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. The murder took place in the hideout. The blood of the lucky little victim was found at the poker table, and before the killer swapped the card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on the victim's hand. Given this, there was one decisive problem with the scene. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on that card, whose position does this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses? Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? It would be the killers, right? Because think of this. Phoenix said that the blood was dripping the back, right? was trickling onto the fifth ace. But the second witness could clearly see that through the window. Wait, so what am I answering? This position doesn't fit with the bloody card. Well, for one thing, the killer is in the wrong place. I think. You think, Mr. Justice. Your job here is not to think, but to know. Just looking at you reminds me of the old days. Not the good old days. Not the good old days, per se. How does a good old personality sound? Okay, so it is. So, yeah. So it's not the killer. So then, yes, it must be. The second witness's position is the problem. The second witness, that would be Mr. Gavin, yes? The second witness's position is far less problematic than yours right now, Justice. Or perhaps, perilous is a better word. So it's the victims, then. I cannot see what the blood-stained card has to do with the second witness's location. I suppose, decent good. Yeah, then it has to be the victims. Well, isn't it the victims? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look at the victim. It was stuck on his head. Look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back into his chair. You think any blood would fall behind the body, not into the table in front of him? Take a look at this photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall onto the floor, not the cards. Why, that's right. So what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh, man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Oh, the chair was facing the other way. It would have to be. So if we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table. Now, Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing? When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in the photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take it to the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction. Again? Let's test your reasoning skills, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? It would be the killers. This time it would be the killers, right? Because, okay, I'm gonna save it here just in case I fuck up too many times. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front, sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes. Yes, but what if you're saying makes no sense? Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of the game? I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light. What? There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try to make it on the diagram. What? But there's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry. Let's think this through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing towards the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer has to be standing for this? Here. The killer would have to be standing, well, here! You get points for flair, but that's all you get. thought I was onto something there too. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim's facing a solid cupboard. Are you saying the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above? Ha! It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that, the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know. At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation, right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboards to the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send the team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Ah, Your Honor. What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Arkwright. I do my best. Well, let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. If the killer was standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here, which means... Apollo, try moving the cupboard. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to be as shown as here. Now everything's in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? What is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we have found yet another contradiction, what I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh dang. Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point out the new contradicting indicator. I show this photo, right? Is this the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? I keep opening the court records. Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know about the crime? About this cupboard. Are we okay with assuming that it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah! That's right! Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh my, Sorry that I have to. I know you're busy for it and all, but oh. It's the coolest defense in the West, losing his cool. Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was. While the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court. Exactly. Where did you witness the crime from? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order! This is a court of law, and I will have order. We just now received word from our investigation team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They examined the cupboard and the hideout. Your Honor! Oh, and what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there was a secret passage behind it. What? Ah, yes. I believe I mentioned something of the sorts before. It's one of those tricks to our room that many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is handy to things when you are engaged in an illegal ongoing. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. Under the underworld bosses could get away from the cops. And a dry coal bowl of bush. No. Just like our killer. said Mr. Gavin is a regular, and you said that all the regulars know about it. See where a little simple deduction reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said she needed this. I wasn't kidding when I said I needed this trump card for the left hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked, and the victim's hat was the only off his head between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There, he crushed the hidden secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came. He took it. Ugh! What? Why did you do that? Wait here. I'll get help. Mr. Olga O'Reilly was out cold and struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped up from the secret passage into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around and took a look. After the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized he needed to destroy the evidence. That single drop of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have been noticed the card on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. Well, it seems that this trial was definitely very interesting, as taking yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor? The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Yeah! Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid the circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately. Yes. Oh, no need to apologize. I'm rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a prisoner of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicions? This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proved to anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Excuse me? I'm his defense attorney. Might I remind you that? Illegal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking? How do you intend to explain the way the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints. Am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottom were, upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court, in this case, demands an explanation. I can think of only one reason why why one would hold a bottle upside down, and that is to hit someone on the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor. See seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. But I'm sure you can come up with some suitable explanation, just like that. Yeah, just like, what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down, other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court records. I believe you'll find a simple answer there. It's in plain sight. Did you miss? Someone does. The bottle is not over. How about you just say the answer in plain words? I agree. I couldn't figure it out. It would be hard, if hasty, to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions. Indeed. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Gavin says that the court in this case demands an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done. Well, perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have to explain the fingerprints on the bottle are upside down? Do I show the crime scene? Alright, Your Honor. I understand. What did they expect? I have no idea how to explain it. You're thinking too hard, Apollo. Fuck! You're right! I am thinking too hard, Phoenix! I'm sorry! Wow. That voice cracked. The answer is right in front of you. Just reach down and pick it up. Or try picturing situations where one might grab a bottle upside down. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have? Okay. I don't know what Phoenix wants from me. I'm thinking too hard about it. I'm thinking too hard about it. Wait a second. It's actually easier to show than to explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair. Ah. See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. Hold on. I need to do this. I have a bottle in here somewhere that I can use this with. Ah! No, that's not a bottle. Here's the bottle. Wait, no. Let's use this bottle. This actually has a good neck. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna have to set myself down a little bit. This would be like so much cooler if I was using a webcam, but I'm not. So we're gonna have to deal with this. Okay. Come on, chair! Go down! I need to be closer to the floor. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, pick up the bottle without getting up from the chair. Holy shit!
naturally, when I went to go down and pick it up, my fingerprints would be upside down on it. Easy. My gosh. I was thinking too hard about it. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple. Recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed, but then you must have remembered. So you went to pick up one of the bottles from under the piano, and you switched the bottles. So we're finally getting to that part, which I mentioned probably like a half an hour ago. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order! Order! What do you have to say about these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? You claim that I switched the bottles. Where's your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjure. I'm afraid your bottle is the proof of proof. Your bottle of proof is quite empty. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Ah, yes. You had I have your memo about that right here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What are you going to do? Dust for that fingerprints too? I would be surprised if anywhere on that but his. But Gavin probably wouldn't make such a mountainous mistake, sure. That bottle wouldn't bear any traces of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me, Mr. Wright. Gladly! That bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. It's the one with the card in it! Obviously! The 5 of hearts! There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card! It can't be! Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga Orleans? Yes, our little swindle, Javoka. Then I planted the card like I was supposed to, and Rhett lost the hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him, but the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Well, wait a minute. This isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found the card. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw that card inside the bottle. The 5 of hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped, and the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Kristoff Gavin. Good job. That is all. This is your kind of idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago? My past is like my logic, straight and true. I think a certain prosecutor would disagree with that at the Phoenix. Actually, like a certain two would prosecutors would probably disagree with you there. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little Google help!
Tate.
Thank you, Google. Right? This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone? No, Mr. Payne. Your job is just to be the forgetful man. Okay? That only helps us that starts all of our journeys. I believe this time we are finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christopher Graven? He's admitted everything. We are pressing his arrest now. I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he? Not that we know of. Mr. Wright, have you anything to add? I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter. About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupant was listed as traveler. Not a profession, to be sure. That's all we know about him. I'll arrange for a follow-up investigation, Your Honor. Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years, and you still haven't lost your touch. Christopher Graven was a man with such a significance to me, both as a friend and a lawyer. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I confronted him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated. This courtroom. The second was a man who tolerated no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo. Me. This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright. Our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce a verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty! Hell yeah! Yay. Are we gonna get any more light shed? Court is adjourned. Are we gonna get any more lighter April 20th, 4:28 p.m. Wow, that was a long trial. Defendant lobby number 3. Thanks, Apollo. You came through, just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered the killer. I couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes, a sensitivity I lacked. You came to understand it soon enough, though. Wait, I wonder if he means... I have one question for the witness, then. You say that you saw the moment that the defendant hit the victim? Is this true? Oh, of course it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer? Right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Graven. What possible reason could he have committed the murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. The girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. I took this off his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified! You said that locket was yours! locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I work for Gavin Law Offices, after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Apollo. Yes? How about coming to work for me? Eh? You mean at Ryan & Co. Law Offices? I have their sweatshirt. I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true. But wait, you're not a... Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago, that legendary trial. And at the middle of it, all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion, and he left law for good. That must be Birch the Turnabout. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There was a single piece of forged evidence. Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about the evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. One piece of evidence that struck me as odd, it's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. I bet it was this forged evidence. You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. The court can't accept this as evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. And then you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene and it should have already... One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. Who's calling themselves an attorney? Apollo. So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. None of that matters much anymore. Much, does it? I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Objection! The next 2 games are under your name. But despite the fact that this is my trilogy. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office address. Drop in us if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that!" next time. I find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. And with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'll find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. Yes, we will like. Return to game menus. We're gonna set the music background. Okay, where is it? Yeah, there we go. the reason I switched it is so that we could go back to this and have something different than the main menu music, which is fucking awesome. So, thank you guys all so much for tuning in to the first episode of Puzzle Justice Ace Attorney. Everything is going to be very interesting from here on out, apparently, it looks like. But like I said, it's very interesting to, like, Phoenix is like, this is your story now, Apollo. But yet, the next two games are not named after Apollo himself. They're back to Phoenix Wright games. But probably in defense, they weren't, when they made Apollo's Justice, they probably weren't planning a Dual Destiny or Spirit of Justice at the time. So it's all very interesting. It's just like a lot of questions were raised. Like, it's that case 7 years ago that really, because, like, obviously logical reasoning would be that case would be Bridge to Turnabout, because if you play Investigations, which I know technically came out after Apollo's Justice, but I played it before Apollo's Justice. Larry in the end credits says, "Well, I haven't seen the man in the blue suit in a while," and obviously the man in the blue suit, obviously referring to Phoenix. I think it's clearly obviously referring to Phoenix, because the joke of Ace Investigations is that Phoenix would be mentioned a lot, but Phoenix would never be mentioned by name. So I think it's safe to, and here's the kicker on that. I did learn that while playing Investigations, that Investigation actually only takes place a month after Bridge to Turnabout. So, and then, so we have a lot to uncover. So it's like, why did Madden, who it really is, who really is, like, really, who is Shady Smith? Because I swear to God, that's not his real name. I bet you $5 that's not even his real name. Because it is the classic. It would, if it's not, it is the classic Ace Attorney. Let's just make the name a pun. And so then it's just like, why did Gavin kill him? It's like, what is Gavin trying to hide? I still feel like Phoenix is still trying to hide something. And it's like, what really made Phoenix turn away from being a lawyer? There's so many questions that were raised, and we have 3 more episodes of this game to get those questions answered. Because, like I said, despite this being the Apollo's Justice trilogy, the next 2 games, there's only one game is actually only named after Apollo. So we won the case, but there's so many more questions to be answered. And, well, I guess we'll have to enjoy ourselves in the next case, which is called... Oh, it's not giving us a name. It's not giving me a name. These games are not giving me titles of episodes. Fuck. Yeah, and there's 6 episodes in the next 2 games. But then again, those 2 were both... Both those were those were both considered DLC at the time. So, anyways, I think it's time for me to find someone in whom we can raid. Because, quite frankly, I'm ending because I'll be back up to I'll be back again at 10 a.m. I'll be back at 10 a.m. for some Among Us. So I think we're gonna raid Union. He's playing some Satisfactory. And so I'll just say thank you guys all so much for watching tonight. And like I said, I'll be back Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning for. I'll be back tomorrow morning for some Among Us. And I'll be back tomorrow morning for some Among Us. And then we'll be back again on Tuesday for the start of whatever episode 2 is called of Apollo's Justice. So I'm really excited for these events of streams. So, and I hope you guys will come and join us for the adventures. Good night.